Hey guys, this is just a little food for thought. It's been on my heart lately. So let's talk about evil, right? There's so much in the scriptures that talk about evil, and yet evil is something that we never talk about, right? It's even beyond not talking about religion, not talking about politics, and we never talk about evil, but yet there's so much impact of it, especially for, let's say, the Christian community, maybe. So definition of the word evil: profoundly immoral and wicked. I'm going to read that again. You might want to close your eyes and just think about it. Profoundly immoral and wicked is evil. There's a lot of things that I could think that fits the description of these days. But the full definition is actions, intentions, or things that are profoundly morally bad, wicked, harmful, or destructive, representing the opposite of goodness, often involving intentional suffering and cruelty, or deep-seated corruption that goes against justice and righteousness. So it says that evil is, and can you think about anything in our current society that this describes? Actions, intentions, or things that are profoundly morally bad, wicked, harmful, or destructive, representing the opposite of goodness, often involving intentional suffering, cruelty, or deep-seated corruption that goes against justice and righteousness. So in the scriptures, it says that Satan has dominion over the earth. He's the ruler of the world. In John 12:31 and John 14:30, it says, both of those say that he is the ruler of this world. In 2 John Corinthians 4:4, it says the God of this world blinding unbelievers to the gospel. Right, the God of this world is blinding unbelievers to the gospel. That doesn't sound like the creator or the divine, right? The God of this world. Who is the God of this world? Well, the deceptive one, the deceiver, right? The angel of light. Yeshua came to free us from religion, right? Not to trap us in it. And yet, when we look at religion today, there are a lot of trappings, which I probably won't go into today, but there, and sometimes we wonder why we're not making growth and strides and changes and bringing forth the things that we're pursuing and praying about like we think we should, or that would be normal, right? And it's because of all the preconceived notions and all the things that are taught to us through religion that hold us back and that make us think so little of ourselves subconsciously. So it says in 1 John 5:19 that the whole world lies in the power of the wicked one, and we are under his influence, or the world is under his influence. It's a ruler over current evil systems, philosophies, human rebellion against God. Old Testament underlying lack of love, lack of compassion really comes across as written by man. Okay, that was my comment. So when I don't know how many of you did this, but when I was a young teen, probably from the time I was 12, maybe 16, 15, 16, I had this friend and we would read the Bible together. We didn't go to church. I stopped going when I was 12 because I felt like it was really hypocritical. Later on, I did go again, and I was very involved. Leader, youth groups, women's groups, all kinds of stuff like that. But it was different ministry that really tried to live true to the scriptures from the heart. But anyway, so when I would read the Old Testament, a lot of times it would make me cry as a teen, because I thought, oh my gosh, this sounds so evil. Like, why would a creator who is supposed to love what he created be so harsh and so mean and so compassionless? You know, like, you read through the Bible, there's a lot of death. There's a lot of killing. And it's funny because, you know, it talks about how Satan was given dominion over the earth. And interestingly enough, none of the deaths in the Old Testament are attributed to that entity. They're all attributed to the creator, the divine creator. And so even as a kid, when I would read this, I'm just like, this doesn't make sense. This doesn't seem right. This doesn't, I mean, you don't do that when you create out of love. You know, that's not the heart. And so, I mean, when we think about the fact that the angel of deception has dominion over this realm right now, you know, we really got to question, like, this has nothing to do with Jesus. Yeshua, actually his name isn't even Jesus, it's Yeshua. And I think that if we're going to have a relationship with him, we should probably call him by his real name, right? But anyway, so I got a little distracted. Okay, so what I was trying to say is, I think that we need to look at if another entity has rule, then we've got to look and see, like, how is that impacting our world? And why is it that people can go to church and pray and give their money and tithes and give their heart and give their energy and see no real impact in their lives? And why people go to church and they're taught to accept so little, you know, taught to accept suffering, that, oh, it's righteous for you to suffer, you know, the righteous will suffer, you know, the poor will be blessed, the sacrificing those with little and who give everything away and have nothing, well, you'll get plenty on the other side. And then we look and we see all these people who profess a walk with the divine, and who give little, if anything at all, and they keep and hoard and steal and lie and cheat, and they live great lives, you know. And you got to wonder that if this realm is under the influence of the duplicitous one. Oh shit. Okay, I'm gonna have to clean. I'm gonna have to do a cleaning because my door just blew open. So, yeah, that's a little alarming as I'm talking about the ruler. My front door, my dog starts whining, and then the front door blows open. And, so I know that I'm protected, but we'll still do a cleansing. So we just have to wonder, like, the stuff that we learn and the stuff that is taught and the way things are written in the scriptures, if that is really from the divine. Like, because what happens and what we see in our world today is that the good people are the ones who suffer. You know, the good people who have character, who have conviction, who have great hearts, who love, who give, who sacrifice. Those are the people who suffer under this rule, under this current system, right? And yet the system, our governmental system, our colonized American system, it's all based off of, you know, a Roman Christianity, a Christianity that was gathered and manipulated to control the masses. I mean, that's really what happened. Like, there's so much. If you don't believe that, why are there so many books, right, and artifacts and manuscripts in the basement of the Vatican? Why do they have so much information that they don't share? Why is there so much information that they don't release to the public? Like, what is it that they're hiding, right? And so as we look and see all the crazy stuff going on in our society today, and we look and we see how little the current evangelical system community reflects Yeshua and his heart and his love and his integrity and the things that he taught, when we look and see how little it reflects that, we've got to wonder why, right? And we look and we see, like, all the power that they have, right? Why? When we look and see how this land was settled, and even before the colonizers got here to America, like, all the people that were massacred, all the wisdom and knowledge that was destroyed, you know, most of it was destroyed, and then some of it was hoarded and hidden. And but you look and you see, like, all the cultures that have been just stripped down to nothing, you know? And part of that, I think, like, even when we look at America and the natives, right? People understood to some degree, like, bad, but people didn't understand evil. And good people, and I think even that's why with the evangelical system right now, so many people are led astray to support a lot of really dark, dastardly stuff, is one, because people don't read the scriptures for themselves. They don't study them and question and debate them in their own mind or in their communities. They're told how to read them and what to think of them and how to apply them, and when they should apply them or not. Sorry, that was my dog. Kind of startled me. But the other reason why people are so easily misled is because good people in general don't understand evil, and our society teaches us that evil is not a real thing. We see it and we feel it, but it's not something you talk about. And it's really, you think talking about, like, the Holy Spirit or meditating and manifesting is woo-woo, you know, like, well, evil is like a whole nother level of woo-woo that you just don't talk about. And I think as good people, as spiritual people, as people who desire to be close to the divine, to live our life purpose, to stand out and make a difference in the world, we have to be honest and aware of the impact of evil. One, so that we can protect ourselves, so that we're aware of it, that we can protect other people. But you can't win a fight with something that you're unwilling to acknowledge. And it's not just the physical challenges that we have in this world going on right now. We have a corrupt society, and I don't necessarily just mean the people, but our system was built on corruption. Our government was built to benefit the few. That it was built to keep power in a limited amount of people's hands. And even when you look at how when you look at voting for the president, and how every vote counts, but then in reality it doesn't count, because it's countered by I forget what the system is right now, because I wasn't planning on going here. But like it's countered by each state, and there's like a fail safe, because states with less people have almost as much power, and sometimes even more power than states with more people. And so it's not really the people, the individuals. Like, we all do need to vote to enact change, which is kind of a tricky system, because the more people who stay out of it, we can't change. We have absolutely no hope of changing things if you don't participate in it. Where when you participate in it, you don't have as much power as you should, but the only way to change it is to be active in it. But so basically, I'm kind of digressing. But when we look at how the system was rigged in order to keep power in the hands of the few, it's a system that supports evil in a sense. My kid is playing with the dog treats. But so anyway, I'm just kind of bringing this stuff up because it's been on my heart, and there's so much dastardly stuff going on right now in society. And we've had those records of some of the different abuses come out, and they name some different people, and and it's just amazing how so much can come out, and be so obvious, and yet people are still so deceived, because I think in reality they want to be, because when you invest your money and your time and your belief in something, you don't want to be told that you're wrong. And when you look at our society, there's a lot of good, but there's so much lack of love from people who claim to follow Yeshua, from people who claim to embody the fruits of the Spirit, from people who claim to who walk in truth. And the scripture that just always stays with me is the one that says, if you don't love your brother who you see, there's no way that you can love the divine. There's no way you can love Elohim, And so in our efforts to walk in the light and in the truth, we've got to evaluate ourselves and also just have a clear perspective of society, perspective of what's going on, not in fear, or this isn't to make anyone anxious or fearful or fretful. I mean, I think so often people shut down because they don't want to feel stuff. But when we mature spiritually, we should be able to look at truth and not be overwhelmed by it, you know? And I think one practical way that we can identify truth is if it's something that's, or not truth, but evil, is if it suppresses truth, you know, not if it's something that we were taught not to believe in. People believe different things. And I think this whole, I mean, it's really clever to create a system where you're like, okay, you can only worship the divine in one way. And yet the divine is, the creator is so big that you look and you go, oh my gosh, like there's so much diversity on everything in this planet. And we can have so much diversity, and yet the divine only wants people to worship one way, you know, only you know, you have people speaking all these different languages, living all these different cultures, living in all these different parts of the world, and the divine is not big enough that every culture has a way of acknowledging and reaching out and connecting with a different aspect of the divine. And that in itself breeds hatred, right? It breeds separation. Oh, you're being feisty. It breeds separation, it breeds hatred, it breeds self-righteousness. And so those are the things we kind of have to look at if we're gonna if we're gonna make any change in the world. Oh, jeez, stop it, Maple. So we got this kitty. We got her like one day after she was born. Our neighbor found her. Kitty was on his way home from work, and so we've had her since then. And she thinks she's an alley cat. She's not an indoor-outdoor cat, but she's really feisty. She's always digging up my plants and stuff. Anyway, I digress. But it says, you know, I wrote down, Satan has had the rule of this age for 2,000 to 3,000 years, right? Ephesians 2:2 says, the prince of power of the air, governing the spiritual forces of evil around the earth, gathering the forces of evil around the earth. That's how it describes the duplicitous one. And so where am I going with this? I guess my biggest desire is for people to be aware. And we are taught and we are lulled into sleep in so many areas of our lives. And our critical thinking is so low sometimes. And I'm not saying this, I'm not putting anybody down. I'm just saying socially we have been taught and trained through how our education system is, through how our religious system is, through how our cultural system is, to not question, to not evaluate, to not think. And we're given parameters of where we cannot go, where it is not acceptable to question this. It's not acceptable to question that. It's not acceptable, even if it doesn't make any sense. We're not going to go there. Even if we, go someplace and we sit around people who all sit and do a lot of dastardly stuff, we're still gonna just hold our tongues and accept that that they are righteous ones. Even if what we read or we hear in the scriptures, people just chalk it up to, well, nobody's perfect. Nobody, that person, And again, I'm not speaking about judging other people. I'm just more speaking about opening our eyes and our hearts. And part of our hearts being open is having eyes that are open. And the only way we can truly enact change in this world is for us to be clear-minded and clear-hearted. And in order to be clear-minded and clear-hearted, we've got to be able to look at our society and see things and admit some things that are wrong so that we can move beyond them and past them, so that we can right the system. You can't right a system that you won't acknowledge it is wrong. And so anyway, I hope that this gives you food for thought, to think about the ways that each of us are maybe limited or even deceived through this current system that we have, and how or what you're going to change in it. And so I pulled a card. It says word magic. And this is actually a good topic. I watched this documentary on numerology and the American language, not the American language, but English, and how English was created and very intentionally. And so when you apply the alphabet forward and you apply it backwards and you add it together, how like specific words carry specific resonances and specific energy to impact people. And so it was just really deep and clever. And I can't do it justice right now because I'm a little distracted. But so anyway, I'm going to read what this word magic, let's see if this relates to anything we're talking about. Word magic, number 8, infinity. And we've got the diamond. So we're on squares, circles. This is pretty clever. I know I'm just kind of rambling, but it's good to think. So it says the old translation, in the old traditions of Europe, words had power. The right words spoken in the right place at the right time, and sometimes while adopting a particular stance, could quite literally change the world. They could make it or unmake it. They could topple kings or conjure up winds. A plant wouldn't heal you unless words were spoken over it. Words spoken in language of a place. Words which both named and reflected the deeper stories of elements of the landscape, opened you up to their mystery and bound you to the land. Addressing a crow, offering a praise poem to a tree. Such conversations and poems and songs were natural ways of interacting with the animate and expressive eloquence of the world around us. In fairy tales, words have power too, especially when they're used to name. There are many fairy tale heroines who defeated a villain by learning their true name. In Rumpelstiltskin, a little man ensnares a young girl into a magical contract she later regrets. It's only when she learns and speaks his name that she is able to break the contract and keep the firstborn child that he would have taken from her. In other tales, little rhymes and chants spoken at just the right time can reveal the truth of a story and so similarly save the day. What words have power for you, and how can you use them? What is it that you need to speak out loud? And so, and on a deeper level, this does relate to what we're talking about when we talk about evil and we talk about using Yeshua's real name and praying to the true Christ and not the fake one that's been created. When we talk about, you know, how the angel of light and duplicity has actually been given power over this world. So when we are using different words, are we giving power to that, you know? So anyway, it says words have power for you now, and how can you use them? What is it you need to speak out loud? And I know many things we need to speak out loud is like affirmations over ourselves, right? Reaffirming that we are divinely chosen, that we are blessed, right? That we are powerful, that we have the power to change our lives. We have the power to change the world. We have the power to live our desires and to have great impact. And we have the power to break away from the contracts that have been placed upon us, you know. And we have the power to walk in truth and in love and in light. And so I just wanted to share this. I do hope that it encourages you, that it gets you thinking, that you do not feel discouraged, but that you feel empowered, and knowing that we have the divine in us. All of us have the divine in us, and we are empowered with the power and the light and the truth and the magic of the divine, and that we can do some amazing things. And when we gather together in truth and love, and not in religion, but in purity of creation, we can truly have a major impact in the world. And part of that comes with, through these times, these crazy times of things seeming like they're disintegrating. Sometimes things have to disintegrate in order to rebuild. Right. Sometimes, you know, you can't raise a cake that's already flopped, right? You just gotta make a new one. So anyway, drop a comment, hit the like button. I don't know, come visit me again. But much love to you, and I think one thing we should all seek and pray for is wisdom, insight, and truth, right? To be able to see, to be able to know, and to be able to let go of things that are untrue, and to not hold on to things because they make us feel good. That got 333. To be able to let go of things that aren't true, and not to hold on to them just because they've made us feel good in the past. To be able to walk in truth and love, and to face some challenging things sometimes. But to know that we're so much freer when we do. So anyway, much love, much light, and I will talk to you soon.